Unguided assumptions can lead to a lot of pitfalls. Using what you have to get what you want. The truth is, you're never the first to do something. The walls of education and what you actually do as a practice is gone. Which is why CEOs, their job is not to do the work. Their job is to sell the idea. Tech of the 21st century is people-based. As a project manager, I don't manage people. I manage the project. Entry-level jobs are disappearing.
All right. Good day, everyone. Thank you so very much for taking our time to listen to us, right? It's not just me today, right? And there have been a couple of questions people have been asking me. A lot of people have been asking me that, okay, Tolu, you talked about some people in product management. What about people in project management and different areas that are non-tech, right? So today's guest I'm bringing in, I've known him for over 10 years, right? This guy, sometimes I used to wonder that I wish I'm like him, right? Because he's so diligent. There's a place of excellence. He believes in excellence. I remember the time when back like 12 years ago, we're doing a project, and this guy, it was just me and him, right? And the energy he keeps doing in his work, he doesn't need motivation to keep him going, right? And what kind of fascinated me about his story, right? This guy studied chemical engineering, or is it petroleum engineering?
Mechanical
engineering, right? So he studied mechanical engineering, just like the former guests we did. But I'm noticing that there is a trend of people studying mechanical engineering, now making a transition into tech, right? But I'm not going to go put my cart before the horse, right? So I'm going to give him the mic. He's going to do a little introduction about himself, and we jump into the flow. All right, Obi, the floor is yours.
Hey, thank you to you and to all the guests that are listening and watching. Thank you for the invitation. So I'll do a little bit of introduction for myself. So my name is Obiora Nkwocha, and I'm a project management professional going over 10 plus years now, working in Canada, in the North American industry. And I've worked across a couple industries from retail to not-for-profit, and more recently in a government entity where we contract, we do a lot of SaaS work for state and local governments in Canada and in the US. I've been in Canada almost the same time as well, for about 10 years now. Actually, this year makes it 10 years as well. So as Tolu said, my background is in engineering, specifically mechanical. That was my first degree as a BEng. And then I moved over to Canada. I did a master's in engineering design as well. So I also have a second degree, a master's engineering and design. And along the line, between my third and fourth year, I kind of started to transition into tech. And kid you not, I started off as a QA for a software company. So that kind of exposed me to like the tech world, where being a QA, you're kind of that gateway, the testing person that can tell if a product or if a service software is able to go out to market, if there are defects or not. So I kind of started off on there, but over time I figured I didn't really want to stay on the technical side of things. So not like go out of tech, but within tech, there are the opportunities to become a manager, and you're able to manage both human resources and tech resources and other resources. So I did start looking into figuring out how to become a project manager. At the time in my company, we only had a product owner and a manager. And so I spoke with him. I said, hey, look, this is something I'm interested in. And I wasn't getting the kind of feedback I wanted. So I took the journey outside of my own, got a boot camp. I signed up for, it was an 8-week long boot camp to prepare for the project management exam, which I know the PMP is something that most people hear and like, no, this is it's too much. It's something I can do. But honestly, I did that for like 8 weeks, studied on my own, went in, wrote the exam, not to throw shade, but I got it on the first try.
Wow.
I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that. I know my score was, I want to say above target, right? So I got it. And I thought, oh, now I have a PMP, I'll be able to get a project management job. That didn't happen for another 6 months, but I finally landed my first project management role. I've been with the company now going close to going to about 4 or 5 years. And it's so interesting that the company that started out as a startup that hired me, that company was acquired by a bigger company. And just recently last month, we're kind of now one of the largest golf tech companies in North America. So grateful to have gone through that step. And so, on a day to day, I would say in my 9 to 5 corporate job, I work as a project manager. On the flip side of me, I'm also an audio visual writing
Yeah.
consultant. So Tolu would know about that as well. So
Yeah.
everything from live events to concerts to making movies, film, short film. Nowadays, with the advent of social media and all the equipments that we have available to ourselves, doing live and production is kind of what we do. So I own a company called Image Studio. So imagestudio.com. That's EMAEGE and studio.com. I'm probably sure that the link would be somewhere on the screen. So I do that partner with my wife as well. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. We were both in Canada, and being a project manager is a journey. So
Yeah.
I'm sure there are more questions to come, but I'll pass it back to Lu to take us further.
All
Yeah,
right. Thank you so much. I actually thought you're not going to mention the part that you're an audiovisual personnel, right? Because trust me, guys, if you're in Canada and you're looking for such solution, Obiora does a fantastic job on it, right? He won't tell you what all the fantastic job he does, but trust me, this guy is fantastic. He delivers on excellence. So, guys, if you are within the space, you're watching this video, please reach out to him. In fact, be on his DM right now and reach out to him. He does a fantastic job. Right. Obiora, thank you so much for giving a little introduction about who you are and how you kind of transition into tech, right? And I feel as you're talking, it's so important the way you took your story from how you did your master's and now you are currently in the space of tech, right? But I feel it kind of leads us to the conversation, right? But if you were starting your career today from scratch, how would you
yeah.
break into project management without any prior experience?
I think one of the ways that has worked for me, and I think has worked for countless others, is using what you have to get what else you want. Right. So people might say is a cliche, but it's not. Um, so having the experience, from back from Nigeria as someone that kind of served in a local church, both back in university and in my own space as well, that gave me kind of the people, the soft skills that I need. And even when I got here as well in Canada, I was thrown into the hot seat of being the audiovisual director for my local church. And so the kinds of projects, and at the time, we were moving into a new building. And when I mean we built a new facility. And so doing the transition from a small size scale building, maybe like I don't know, that could take like maybe at the max then was like 150 people to a building that now takes over 700 plus people. That transition alone forced me to do a lot of project management work that I did not know was actually project
Yeah.
management work. So over the years, when I started to sit down with coaches and people, and they start asking, what are your experiences? And then I go ahead to narrate all of those. So they're like, yeah, you've been doing a lot of projects unknowingly. And so I started to capitalize on that. And just to mention one of them was, at the time we had to install a video wall, right? And I was involved with sourcing out the company.
Wow.
We were able to buy this from abroad. This at the time cost almost 15,000 USD. So talking about cost, talking about the scale of communicating with stakeholders, talking to the installers, doing all of that. That was within a scope. That was project management that I wasn't aware that I was doing. So to anyone listening that is looking to break into the industry, I can almost guarantee that you already have a good out of 10, maybe 5 to 6%, or 6 out of 10 things you've already done that are practical things that you would be doing as a project manager. Because you ask yourself, what is a project? A project is a unique endeavor, a unique task that has a start and an end time. Every other thing inside it, maybe the cost, the time is going to take. All of those things will be defined. And so, if I was starting my career now, I'm going to leverage on the experiences that I have, and also talk to people that are doing something similar to what I. Because the truth is, you're never the first to do something.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody else could have just have moved from a career path into becoming a project manager from tech. These days, I think the walls of education and what you actually do as a practice is gone.
Yeah.
Right. So you could be a medical doctor, you could be, a pilot, but you're a project manager because you manage certain aspects of your job that are time-based. There is a scope and there's a budget that you have to work within it. So figuring out where you are right now, the kind of skills that you need, even as complicated or as simple as even migrating from your home country to a different country. That's a project on its own. So that's where I will start. Start with what you're used to. Start with what you have. And I think what a lot of us have is we have experience. Sometimes it might not be one-to-one, expressions, but you have experience. There's no way you would have gone through, high school, college, university, a first degree. You have some kind of experience that you can leverage on. And the biggest key is being able to communicate that experience. And I know that's where a number of people fall short. But the truth is, there's help. There are coaching classes, there are mentors out there, there are boot camps out there nowadays that can actually help you structure your experience so that when you communicate it to someone listening to you across from the other side of the table, whether it's from your resume to your cover letter to a portfolio or even on the coffee chat, you're able to communicate such experience that this person not only just wants to keep hearing you talk, but they want to see you in action. And so they bypass all the protocols, saying, look, even if you've never held a corporate project manager job title, I've heard the things that you've said, and I'm willing to give you a chance. I know that a lot of people, what they need is that chance. So if I were to start from scratch today, I would still utilize the experiences that I've garnered over the years, and talk to people to say, hey, how do I refine this experience for you to speak to within the tech world? Now, if you were going into like a different field, there's a way to also build your experience in that line. But we're talking about tech here. In tech, people want to see results.
True.
Right? And so if you're starting off, all the experiences you have, you must have gotten results, and that's the result that you're able to communicate to people, whether it's to a hiring manager, whether it's to a mentor, whether it's to a coach. People are able to resonate with the results that you have, and then think back and say, look, if this person is able to do this and we give them a chance, 9 out of 10 they are likely going to succeed. And that's what we need in this day: people to be confident in themselves, put themselves out there, and trust that all your inputs will result in something good.
Wow. I'm really taking notes, right? Because you said something, and I feel I need to reemphasize it. The place where you talk about the project is all about having a start and an end time. But what kind of stood out for me is the place where you're talking about leveraging on your experience. Because most times people are going through life, but they just feel like what they have, the experience they have, is not sufficient enough, right? And I like the way
Yeah.
you kind of emphasize it, where you're talking about you need to also have confidence in yourself, right? Because
Yeah.
most times people are willing to give you a chance, but they need you to demonstrate that confidence to them when we're hiring
Absolutely.
you. Because there's
Hmm.
something I read sometimes on LinkedIn. They say that we don't expect you to have everything on the
Job
job
description.
description. And I'm saying, are you serious? All this while I've been saying that I thought you need me to have everything. Because most
Absolutely
times
not.
people want to take that shot, but they're saying that, oh, I can't apply for this job because I don't even meet up to even 40%, so they don't apply. But they're saying
Yeah.
that, see, still go ahead and apply, but it's possible all your experiences is tailoring into the job you are going to do for the company, right?
I
But
agree. Yeah.
so now let's now kind of move into the discussion, right? And I feel as you're talking, what's one underrated skill that helps people transition into project management roles across industries?
Hmm. A good one is people skills. The thing about soft skills and people skills is that it's not something you learn on the job. It's something that you've had to grow over the years,
Mm,
right? And speaking from experience, where as an engineer, all the thought that we had was, okay, we're gonna stay behind some kind of lab, wear lab coats, or be in the factory and just designing away. But you know, times have not changed from time all the way back. The person that is able to call to communicate to someone else, make them feel like they're the king of the world. That's the person that people want to spend time with. And speaking from what I've seen here in North America, is if you're the type of person that you're able to sell yourself, you're able to make other people feel good about the job that they are doing. They're 10 times more likely to have to hire you or keep you in a position of relevance or give you a promotion than someone that actually just gets stuff done. Because at the end of the day, is getting stuff done, while it's good, you know, the way things are changing now, AI is coming to get stuff done. And so what doesn't change is that interpersonal relationship. Someone that's able to relate to people. Now, the truth is, not everybody is going to be able to do that. But the truth is also a skill that you can learn. If truly you want to go into a field of tech, because I took a program one time as part of my master's called Human Centered Design, right? And the premise of the whole thing was you're putting together a solution where real human beings were going to use.
yeah.
And so the way you communicate your idea, the way you counter an idea, the way you discuss an idea to both your peers, to management, to the executive team, people want to see that you have a stake in this. So that
Mm,
one thing that is very important is being open to communicate. Whether is you're able to communicate in person. I work remotely, but as we're doing that, we're on the phone. So I can tell you 70% of my job is talking.
wow.
70% is talking. The other maybe 20% could be, some technical, a little bit of some technical stuff. Like you have to know some of the softwares, you have to know some of the back end stuff, but 70% of what I do is talking. And so being able to read something, watch something, and then communicate that to the next person in such a way where one, they're paying attention to you, they're listening and to you, they're able to resonate with the idea that you are passing across in this world and today, maybe not all over the world, but in North America, and I think it translates even to most other countries. That is one of the most valuable skill, which is why CEOs, their job is not to do the work. Their job is to
Mm,
sell the idea.
mm,
So they keep pitching the idea to investors. They keep saying, This is the idea that we have. They keep telling stories, which is why when you hear about a pitch, the best ones are always the ones that tie into like a personal story, a
Yeah.
story that you can feel. So someone walks into you in 30 seconds and say, have you ever faced a challenge? Your car is broken down, but you need to get to an interview, and you call the taxi company and they say they are 30 minutes away, but then you're able to pick up your phone, type in the address of what you want to do, press request, and a vehicle comes in, picks you up, and takes you to your interview with 5 minutes to spare. That is Uber. And so people come up with ideas, but the ability to sell that idea, that is the skill. And the truth is you can sell ideas for anything, whether it comes to marketing, sales, product, project. The people that are able to do that, they have leverage because they're able to connect with the next person. They're able to resonate with what people actually feel. Nobody's going to invest in a company that they sent the software engineer to go and do the pitch. They will always send the person that's able to tell the story, tell it well, tell it as smoothly, as seamless as possible, that the investors are like, look, even if I don't know about this, I've never heard about this business, I'm willing to put in $1 million right now. So being able to communicate, tell your story from your experience to a target audience, I think that's a skill that a lot of us, young folks, we need to start to hone. We need to start to build. I know you're skilled in your coding, you're skilled in certain areas, but until you're able to translate all of that to be able to communicate to someone in front of you that this is my value, people would never see value in what you're doing. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I don't even know where to start with this, right? This you have swallowed
Let's just keep it
easily a difficult
moving.
pill to swallow. But I feel based on what you said, right, communication plays a very vital role, right? I know you started off with people and being able to sell yourself because to be honest, founders, investors, they are always looking for a story to buy in. And I feel communication is like your ticket to their hearts, if I put it that way, right? But I'm going to hold
Oh
that.
yeah.
How can someone with no tech background still thrive as a project manager in tech?
Someone with no technical background. And I think that's a misconception that a lot of people have, that when we say tech, I think a good number of people automatically think you're going to be thrown into this ton of JavaScript. That's not the case. Tech of the 21st century is people based at the end of the day. The technology is just a means to solve a problem. Look at all the advancements in technology that we see. The electric car that used to be a fantasy in Star Wars film. It is now literally 4 out of every 10 cars you see on the street. There's a Tesla running every 5 to 10 cars you see on the street, solving a problem. So, taking a step back is, if you're faced with the concept that you always have to have a technical skill, you might be not so correct, right? So having the mind that there are certain roles in the tech industry that don't require technical skills, and there are lots of them. Even whether you're in project management, you're in product management, there are a lot of tech skills. Like if you talk about cybersecurity, there are a lot of cybersecurity pathways that are not tech-based. Where you start thinking of cybersecurity governance, AI leadership, AI governance, project management, as it where you don't require a tech skill to be a project manager. If you're able to use Microsoft Office, you're able to use Microsoft Teams, a Zoom call, you can become a project manager today, right? It's depending on the industry. And so it can be industry based because you have project managers in the military, you have project managers in the government, which is public service. You have project manager in the health sector. You have project managers in the education sector, in the agricultural sector. So depending on the industry, what is required is understanding the concepts that drive the processes in those industries. I can speak on, the industry where I'm in is golf tech, where we offer software and solutions to local and states and government that assist these entities to drive the ordinances that they have, whether you refer to it as a bylaw ordinance. Here in North America, we pay a lot of taxes. There's taxes for everything. And so the means to pay that tax is just the technology that we build. Every citizen, when you go out able to pay, you're able to go to a platform, a software, whether it's mobile or desktop view or a kiosk, you're able to put in some kind of ID, you're able to pay. There's some payment details that have to be taken there. All of that is in the bubble of the technology that goes in there. But you coming from a different world is being able to understand, and that's where the training comes in, the exposure comes in. So you're not going to get it on your first day. You're going to have to learn. You're going to have to do a lot of self-study. You're going to have to go and network with people that speak the language, right? There's some lingo. There's some language of how people in tech talk. Now, yes, there's granted people that are the technology people, the dev ops people, the front end people, the back end people, the security people. They really focus on the technology side of things. And so if that's an interest for anyone that's listening, then the trainings, the certification, all of those deep dive technical software stuff, you have to go into it. But on the flip side, you're going to be dealing with a group of people that was involved in a project. It could be starting from a CEO, starting from an investor, starting from even the user of a product at the end of the day. Those people are not technical. So why should you be a technical person? If you're going to be communicating with them, you're not going to be telling them, hashtag slash back forward space. No, they don't understand any of that. What they understand is this is the idea, this is how much it's going to cost you, this is when we're going to get it done. That's it. And then everything in between there is now, you're following up, you're committing to a timeline, you're working with different groups. As a project manager, I don't manage people, right? I manage the project. And so anybody that's involved in the project is kind of part of the team that I work with. And so my goal is kind of the go-between my client, who is the person paying us, and the company to say, look, this is what they're interested in. Now this is how we're going to be able to solve it. So there's always this fine line of you're able to translate the technical part to the non-technical person and translate the non-technical to the technical people. That's what a project manager is. Somebody, we're having a fun time. Somebody said he loves his job as a project manager. He's just to ensure that he coordinates between everybody, books all the meetings, and sit back and watch everybody do their job. And I'm like, that's not, far from the truth, because that's what you actually do. You don't manage human beings. You're coordinating them. You're trying to say, okay, it's time for us to do this. I usually say that for project managers, the thing that we actually work on is when is something going to be done, and how is it going to be done. So the when and the how. For product folks, they are more concerned on what is meant to be done and why are we doing it. So those four things, I think on my LinkedIn post a couple years back, I put up kind of like a quadrant for that. So if you understand that, coming into from whatever industry you're coming into, whether it's from health, medical, the law, wherever, public service, and you're interested in the tech industry, just have it behind your mind that you don't always have to be on the technology side. But then if you're interested, that is also a place where you can actually grow and shine, because trust me, the technology we have now, AI, we have people that are daily building advancements in technology. The appeal of tech is where I want to go to. Have it behind your mind that you can break in without the technical skills. But to stay in that space, you need to always continue to advance. You need to keep up with the trend. You need to keep up with the know-how. You need to keep up with something that is new. You have to be an early adapter of the next wave. So you imagine if you're a project manager now, you haven't started using things like Copilot or Cloud or all of this, tools that are popping up here and there. You're going to be left behind, right? So, while those things are not as technical as they are, like, having an AI chatbot record your meeting, do a transcribe, those things are there to assist you. So you don't have a technical skill, but you're an early adapter of technology. It can get you to where you need to be. So hope that answers the question. Is you don't need to have a technical skill, but when you get in there, you need to stay up to date.
Yeah. When you're talking, you give you the introduction, right, about how you transition from being a QA to being a project manager. What came to my mind, I wanted to ask you is, did you ever try coding?
Ooh, ooh, good, very good question. You know, guilty as it can be is I've tried coding at several points in my life, and while I've been forced to understand it to an extent, it's not something that naturally flows with me. I think it's so you know how they say that coding is a language,
Yep.
right? Like when you code, you kind of understand a language. I think that's just the way I figure about it. I'm not a language person, so even aside from English and maybe my mother tongue, which I'm not even as fluent in, every other thing that is a language, I don't just have an affinity for it. However, when I was, working as a software QA, it was interesting where I had a senior QA person that I worked with, and one of the things that I started kind of getting into is the automation with scripts, right? Where we had this software. It was a CAD based software. So if you're in engineering, you know about AutoCAD and stuff. The foundation or the architecture of this software is CAD based, and so we used to be able to write a script and automate it where it could record my motion, my click motion on the system, right? And then it would record it and then is able to reproduce my steps if I give it a blank screen. So that one got me interested and I became good at it because I understood the concept of the architecture in CAD, but it wasn't coding. However, there are cases where we needed to add some additional code of lines. The only thing that helped me was there were libraries or places where I could copy some code, paste it. But then when I run into like issues, I will be stuck for days. I would ask for help. So coding is still not something I would rather do. Right, I would rather not do coding. I'm grateful to all the technology out there that exists these days that you don't have to code. So you could build an entire platform, a website, a ready to go website, e-commerce website, a web app without coding 1 second. So I'm really glad that they've considered people like us that don't have the affinity to code, but we still enjoy building. Like I've had a background in graphics
Yeah.
design. Back in the day with Photoshop, nowadays is with Figma and with Canva.
Yeah.
Trust me, till 2 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, I still have a Canva account. I still have Figma,
Wow.
even as a project manager, because that's where I thrive. I'm able to design. I'm able to look at things in a different way. I'm able to build stuff. But when it comes to coding, it's not my strong suit. And I don't throw shade to people that code. People love to code. They make a lot of money, software engineers. But that's good. We also make a lot of money by coming up with designs. So I think there's space for everybody to exist.
True.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so very much for that response, right? And As you're talking, what even comes to my mind is, to be honest, I feel most times people just tie the. Okay, let me even give you a backstory. I remember when I was telling a friend of mine, I was telling the person that I want to go into tech. And the person was telling me that, what part in tech? And I was confused. I just thought tech is tech. The guy said no.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I'm doing this, because sometimes people have this misconception that tech is tech. Mm-mm. What
Mm.
part of tech are you going to? You, on your own side, you already told me the place of automation, the place of QA, the place of a project manager, and previous other chat I had with other people in tech, right? But I feel it kind of leads us to the next conversation, right? I know you have delivered multi-million dollar projects across different industry,
Yeah.
right? But what's the mindset between just managing tasks and truly leading projects?
Mm. That's a very interesting question. The mindsets between doing just tasks
Yeah.
and truly leading projects. So I think the last part of that question kind of already leads us to the answer. Leading a project means that you're actually getting value across, right? And so from the beginning of things, if you're looking at a project, depending on the methodology that you're in, whether it's the traditional project management or waterfall, or the agile methodology, or even a hybrid version of it. One of the things that is always talked about is the end goal, the value that you give out at the end of the day. And so there are a lot of projects out there that they're being run and managed just based on task. Like, you have like a work breakdown structure. You have tasks that each person has to do. Even if you're not the one that is doing it, you're just assigning it, and Foreign will say, is it done? Is it in progress? Is it complete? Is it in QA? Things like that. If you're in the software space like I am, we talk about a minimum viable product, so like the MVP. That is usually something that gets start off. You start up with your MVP. You're able to go to market with that, but then over time you're iterating, you're improving little by little, and you see leading a project. I think the good example would be Apple. Every fall time ish, they bring out a new iPhone, right? And so part of what they've maintained doing is telling the story about why you can't do without the iPhone. Apple doesn't, come out saying, there's this new technology. Yes, they list out all the features, but look at the first 5 minutes of their this phone is about to bring to you. So that's where leading our project is as long as you're solving problems or issues that people actually care about. You're managing resources to the end goal that your results solves a real life issue. I think that's where you're doing great work. You're leading a project. But you can't lead a project without doing the task.
True. True.
Right. And so that's where, on one side you can do the task, get stuff done. It might not necessarily be giving value. And that's why a lot of projects fail. Because at some point, your stakeholders are out of sync. Those are involved, your sponsors, your executive sponsors, your teammates as well, they're out of sync. So they're just going with the motions. They're doing the task, and nobody really cares what the end goal is. So you're spending money, time is going. At the end of the day, you've checked off all your boxes. Tax has been done, but the project doesn't deliver value. And we hear of that a lot. I subscribe to this engineering channel on LinkedIn, and sometimes they talk about some of the engineering failures of history that we've seen. There are many inventions that never saw the light of day. That is what it means to do task. You just solved something, did something, and it never really got to value. So for me, as a project manager, every time we are faced with a project, I always start my project kickoff calls by saying, tell me one thing that if I get to do that in the next 90 days, it will be of value to you as a stakeholder. So that already sets the precedence that if out of all these things that we promised you, if we only do 5% of this, you're already happy, then I'd rather focus on 5% than the remaining 95. So if I get you the 5%, and that usually comes where you're in constant communication with your stakeholders, you're talking to them, you're listening to them. There are pain points. We call it pain point. That place that the shoe hurts. If I'm able to give you a pain relief from that thing, then I've not only done the project, but I've added value to, and that's what a lot of stakeholders are looking for. So if you're early in your career, you're listening to this. If you're mid-level, you're a senior person, you probably would know this, that having buy-in from your stakeholders is probably the most important thing ever. That's where you're leading, because you could be doing tasks that doesn't necessarily get you to your end goal.
True.
But you're doing tasks, you're spending money.
True.
But then when you're leading a project, you're leading together with those that are involved, your teammates internally on the business side. You're also leading with, your external stakeholders as well. They are the ones kind of driving the project, because, things change. There's going to be like, scope changes and scope creep. You're going to have all your change and management. I'm using all the project management terms so that somebody listening knows that we're talking real stuff here. Some of these things I did not learn on the first day. Some of these things I saw them for the first time in the exam room when I was taking my professional exam. So, but in the course of getting into the work and exposure, these things are real. They're absolutely real. So just you being able to lead the team in the direction that the end goal is clear. That's the difference between just going away and doing tasks and then not really vibing with your stakeholders to ensure that there's value that you're actually putting out together. Otherwise, you hear projects that they spent millions of dollars and it never saw the light of day. Yeah. So that's literally the difference. Value at the end of the day is what makes a tax-based project manager and a value-based project manager different.
Well, I like the way you kind of merged the whole answer and you now made it just broke it down, right? Because one thing I feel most people kind of miss out, right? It is the place of value and which we are emphasizing.
Yeah.
Because you can't start creating a product and you're not seeing the value behind it. So imagine if you want to create a new phone in quotes, right? And you have just started the project, but you're not in touch with your stakeholders, not knowing that changes have moved on. They want something even much better, right? But I like the way you said it. You being able to stay in touch with your stakeholders and you still also being in touch with your team members, people doing the work, right? So that nobody is, in quotes, lost in what they are building.
Yes.
So, and I'm not going to
that's good.
And I'm not going to move to the next conversation, right? I like the way when you're giving, what would I call it? When you're giving recommendation to people that are starting their career in project management, people are in mid-level and people are in senior level in project management, right? But I feel this next conversation is, what's a mistake you see beginners in project management make all the time and how can they avoid it?
All right. On this call, as much as it can actually help a lot of people. One of them is assumptions. Assumptions are good, but unguided assumptions can lead to a lot of pitfalls, can lead to a lot of loss in revenue, loss in time, loss in value, in so much. Meaning that you could have the right intention. You could be assuming, oh, this is what I think should be done, without doing a little bit of some checks. There's and I learned this the hard way, where you can't assume, this is what somebody meant when they sent you an email. This is what somebody was alluding to when they picked up the phone or they sent you a Teams chat or a Skype chat or Slack,
Yeah.
or whatever platform you guys use, you have to verify. You have to confirm. I think for me, that has saved. I mean, I made a lot of mistakes in my early years where, oh, I thought that was what this person. Then I went full steam doing that thing that I thought, only to come back a few days or a few weeks later and say, oh my God, I misinterpreted the case. I misinterpreted it. Not only does it cost you, but it could lead you to have to go fix things. And so in the software space, one thing that is difficult to fix is trust.
Mm.
It's difficult to fix trust, especially when you over commit. So in the tech world, a little bit of a secret is that you try to under promise and over deliver. So a client is saying, when is this feature going to be available? It's going to take you what, 2 sprints, and for us, sprints like 2 week sprints. So that's like 4 weeks. You know, you're rather safe saying, this might take us, into maybe like 3 or 4 sprints. And that just allows us to be able to ensure that we've done all our testing. We've gone through all the phase of testing, regression testing, functional testing, and we're able to push this out to the market. If you now get it done in 2 sprints, guess what? You're giving value at the end of the day. The person looks at you and says, "Oh my God, this person knows what they're knows nobody," and they're responding quick. But that was just your regular time to get it done. So
Yeah.
just making sure that you set the right expectation. I made a lot of mistakes because I was like, oh, we could get this done in a week. And then when I go back to engineering, they're like, what? A week? You have no idea what gets involved. It's not going to happen in 1 month.
Wow.
Now you have to go back to tell the client, I'm sorry, this is not going to happen. But they're like, you said it on the call. And the truth is, customers, the first experience, they would hold you to your word.
Wow.
So, that issue of setting the right expectation is always key. Don't assume, don't over project, don't overestimate. Try and get some real time numbers, real time value from your back office team, whether it's your DevOps, your engineers, your QA, whoever is your product owner, whoever is the person that is doing that. Try and get some backup with them so that they can tell you, oh, this is what this stuff actually can do. Then you have some confidence to go back to your stakeholders and say, hey, look, based on what I've just learned, this is what it's going to be. And, if even if it happens that you are getting close to that point, then keeping them in the loop. Something happens, you're not able to meet deadline. You're going to have to suck it up, pick up the phone, pick up your email and say, guys, I've just been updated by the team due to this, that, and that. You have to set real tone examples. This stuff is happening due to this. Unfortunately, we have to move our timeline to this. So those are for me like just the few things I know that I missed while I was early on. Now it's like it's always scary to go back to the customer and tell them what you were expecting is not going to happen in the time it was going to happen. It's like, okay, but then if you like tell them ahead of time to say, look, a few things are changing. We've had some staff turnovers, but we're pushing to get this done before the end of Q1 or Q2. You're already setting the right expectation.
Yeah.
It gives them time to relax, gives them time to breathe, to re-strategize and come back to you with something else. Than missing your deadline, not communicating to them, that project is already a train off the rails. So don't assume, set the right expectation, and follow up as frequently as possible. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much. The place of, and jokingly, right? I was talking to a friend And he keeps always reminding me that, so stop making assumption. Always ask, always ask.
Yeah.
And I feel we are good at making assumption in so many areas. And sometimes we carry our personal way of making assumption into the office space, right? And I like the place where you talk about setting the right expectation, right? No, not saying that, oh, because I've done this over with the team, it takes me only 2 sprints, so we should be done in 2 sprints. Not knowing there's a new expectation that was not factored in that
Yeah,
will now take the team more than 2 sprints to deliver, right? But thank you
absolutely.
so much, right? And I feel that kind of leads us to the next conversation, right? I've heard the word Jira, I've heard the word Monday.com, I've heard the
Wow.
word Azure DevOps, I've heard the word Power BI, and the list goes on, right? But if someone wants to get into project management today, as we're
Yeah.
talking, right, what tools can they master first and why?
Okay, tools. So you started off with some of the names that are popular in the project product management space, and I'll try to make a few differentiations. So I'll start off with my favorite, and I'll say this video is not sponsored by Monday.com, but I'm a very big user of Monday.com, and so Monday.com as well as other tools like Jira, Asana, Trello, and ClickUp. Those tools have been recently built to become kind of the front side of project management, and they've even extended most of them to now be like a CRM too, so like a customer relationship management tools. Within those tools, you can build out like a workspace, a project, groupings, and manage your groups, assign your team members. So it's the good part of those things that they're very user friendly.
Yeah,
No shade to Microsoft's project, which has always been kind of like the industry standard kind of. But we find out see that a lot of companies now are pivoting into this other SaaS tools because one is easy to adopt, easy for people to learn. The learning curve is pretty low, and so it's very intuitive for people to kind of use. When you start talking about Jira has kind of the project management side of things, the CRM side of things. It also has, the place where your engineers are able to use as a kind of a repository for like your back end, your DevOps stuff, where you're writing user stories and
yeah,
you're tracking, changes that happen within your sprint. You're able to see your backlog, all those fun product attempt. So these platforms, they are SaaS tools that anybody you can actually learn from them. And I think you can even start off with a free trial for most of them. I know Money.com gives you like a 14-day free trial for like the full version where you can go in and play. They have a lot of learning resources online on the platform as well. Same thing with Jira, Asana, Trello, and the rest of them. Tools like Power BI is if you it's a Microsoft app as well.
yeah,
That kind of helps you on the data visualization. So in my world as well, we were dealing with government entities. We deal with a ton of taxpayer information. And so, sometimes it requires you to represent that information in a visual way
wow,
as opposed to a spreadsheet where, it's easy to see a pie chart, a histogram than 10,000 cells on a spreadsheet. You could add color, you could add graphs, line charts, and all those fun things. So as a project manager, these tools, they are becoming the go-to because that's what you're going to meet when you get into the industry, whether you're privately owned or you're working for a corporation, in business, even the entrepreneurs are using this now. And
yeah,
so you find like myself for my business, I started doing that late last year into this year, a SaaS product that is kind of looks like money.com is ClickUp. It's free. I like it. I can access it on my phone. It's cloud-based, so I don't need to be on one computer to always access it. I can be in the airport updating my tasks, my opportunities, my sales. I have is linked to my invoicing system as well. So these
Wow.
are the kind of tools that I think, if you're getting your feet wet into the project space, start getting familiar with it. You can start by watching videos. It helps because by the time you're in, I was hearing someone say this, that entry level jobs are disappearing. Why? Because companies are looking for people with ready to go on their day one, and that's what it
Mhm.
needs. By the time we can slap all of those on your resume. I have experience in Monday.com and dot 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 dot. But then when you're presented with the system, which is why for some companies during their interview, they do like a technical interview where they present you with a little bit of a project task. They're able to say, okay, this is here. They want to watch how you navigate your screen here and there. So those are the tools. And there are a few more, but the ones I mentioned, they're popular. Now
Yeah.
there's money.com. Jira is a very popular one. Now I think Jira is powered or owned by a company called Atlassian.
Yeah.
They have a number of product suites as well that kind of form their product pool. And so if you're using Jira, you're really exposed to what companies actually use. In my company, we use quite a number of them. Azure DevOps is also it's a Microsoft based um, you know platform, if I can refer to it. And that's like for us, that's where we used to put in all our user stories and track things like our backlog, our sprints. And so people are assigned to those things. You can start calculating things like your burn down time and all those graph stuff we talk about in project management. So those tools, people, you can go learn them, try to just get familiar with how they look and feel, download a trial version. Some of them are web-based, get a account for free, try it out. And so that when you're, like I said, when you're in front of someone, when you're expressing, you're doing a pitch, you're doing an interview, you have real examples to say. Like I use money.com for work and ClickUp for my business. They have similar tools. As in recently they've started adding some AI
Yeah.
integrations in them. So you can start speaking on how you create a table, how you create a work group or a worksheet. You assign tags. You do like a Kanban view, or you do like a Gantt chart. When you start talking in those terms, it tells the other person that you are already knee deep into this. You've gone beyond just getting your feet wet. You've gone knee deep into this, and you're ready to learn. And you can start asking them, look, if is this something that you already use in your company, I'm ready to come in and help out or even build out more workflows than what currently exists. So hope that helps.
Wow, you have said a lot, right? And to be honest, right, those tools, I feel sometimes people just wait till they get into the company and then they now try finding out what the tools are. And there's nothing wrong with what you said. Trying to have a deep understanding what those tools are that you use to get the job done and begin to soak
Yeah.
yourself in so that when you're thrown into the water, you know how to navigate, right? Thank you so much for that, right? And I feel it kind of leads us to the next conversation. I know when you're talking, you talked about when you talked about hybrid, you talk about waterfall and the rest, right? But what's one framework or method, agile, scrum, waterfall, the list goes on, that has consistently worked for you? And
Mm.
do you decide which to apply?
Well, the way I will approach starting the conversation is it really depends on the structure that your project management offers. If you're already in a company that has a project management office, whatever the methodology that is put in place, that is what you as a project manager you're going to have to use. You can't just bring your own toolkit into the business, and that is industry specific. If you're in software, you're definitely going to be like agile, type of thing. You're going to be using Kanban and Scrum and things like that. Those methodologies work well in a software space. Construction in the industry, you're building bridges, you're doing, roads, whether you're doing or housing, in the civil engineering or government field, there's a lot of processes that have to be established. They're going to keep with the waterfall, where they have to drill down to know exactly what steps, what tasks, the breakdown structure is before a project is approved. And it flows in that way. There's a lot of, places to sign, there's people to get approvals from, but that will not necessarily work in a software space, because in software place you're meant to be putting out new features as quickly as you can. So you're left with no choice but to work with what the business already is. And so for us, we do the agile way, where we're constantly reviewing the processes that we do. We're constantly testing, we're constantly making changes, and so based on that, we work in sprints as well, and then we're able to release a feature, or do a feature release every month.
Yeah.
As the case may be. Sometimes there are delays, so you can't necessarily have one that works. So it all depends on the industry that you're in. Like I said, I've spent more of my project management time in the software industry, a little bit, software industry, to say the least. So it has always been very agile, because that's what that industry needs, right? That's how it thrives. We can't wait for a perfect software. Exactly. So it's always being improved on, always being improved on. That's why you see, there's a new feature today, tomorrow there's a new feature, but you don't go on a bridge and see a new feature. No, because a bridge is already designed on paper or on the CAD software and approved, tested, and is now meant to be executed. So if you wake up one morning, you see a new design on the bridge, you should be careful driving on the bridge, because what is going on here, right? Because that's a whole change. Yes, there's maintenance on bridges and roads and stuff like that, but those kinds of project, they follow like a traditional project management methodology. They plan everything, they get the approval, they begin to execute, they do some testing, and they release. And once they commission it, it's done. There's no going back to say, oh my God, we needed to do this. So yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much for that, right? And I feel there's something you said in your earlier statement. I feel we need to have that discussion before we round this session up, right? There is this people keep talking about AI in so many places, right? So, and I'm going to ask you, it's kind of two in one, right? There's a place where, do you think AI will replace project managers, and or will it only help project managers to be more valuable? So what's your take?
My take is, I'll take the other side, that it would enhance the performance of projects managers. Every technology that has been built up until now and will be built up until now, the premise of that is to enhance. And so where we see a technology coming to replace is the fact that, one, people refusing to adopt leading with the technology. I'm going to say that again. People refusing to adopt leading with the technology. And what does leading with the technology mean? Is that everybody, I can say almost everybody in the world now has a cell phone.
Yep.
Most people have access to a laptop. The internet is, while it's accessible, not everywhere in the world has access to internet, but most places do, because we can see that on social media and on the mainstream media. What it has helped is it has taken away the walls of development, where everybody can now be in a central space. So AI is not going to be any different from that. It is going to help a lot of industries improve if adopted well. Secondly, those that are able to lead with AI are those that are able to go into the next phase of whatever change, or are going to stay on top of whatever phase this is going to be. Granted, AI is going to be able to replace certain roles. And see how
Mm.
I'm careful to say roles, not, roles, like if you're a software engineer, AI is going to threaten some of the work that you're doing, where it's going to be able to write code. But think of it, you know, if you are a CEO, and AI is not going to replace you, right? If you're a salesperson, you still have to make sales. Like
Yeah.
that's not changing, and not changing anytime soon. So in the landscape of how AI is going to interfere and bring changes, I'm confident that people should rather focus on leading with AI, using the
Mm.
AI in the way that still keeps them valuable. And we'll share a quick example as we wrap things up here. You're a project manager, you have a ton of tasks, you have a ton of things, you're attending meetings, your day is consumed by a lot of meetings. You're meant to send reports to management, you're meant to also do huddles and stuff like that. The truth is you still have the same 8 hours in a day that everybody has. But
Yeah.
here comes the AI that it's able to help you summarize stuff. You're not going to fully depend on the summary. You're going to be able to pick that as a smaller aspect of your day, for you just crunch everything together for you. You're able to pick that and still be able to, like I said, lead with the AI. You're still able to, when you go to your meetings, when you attend, your daily scrums, you're able to now use those summaries to present adequately value or next steps, because the decision making, as far as people think that AI makes decision, it doesn't. It is spitting out what you gave it.
Mm.
But you now need to take that information and make the decisions that will still drive the company, still drive a value. You're a product person. These days, you have AIs that are able to build out some wireframes,
Yeah.
but then you still need to put in that personal touch. You
True.
still need to put in the component of humanness, that activity level, the design that people would actually want to use. So that is one place that, yes, it will continue to improve a lot of things. The truth is, we've been using AIs for a lot of time. The autopilot is one of the oldest automations, intelligence that has been there.
Mm.
You sit in a plane, you don't complain that a plane is flying you from New York to France by itself, but then you want to complain that somebody is recording your call or is doing a transcript of your call. Those are two, almost the same thing. So it goes back to this level of value and trust. Is, do you trust the AI that you're using, and you're able to take reference from it to lead the work that you're doing? So I was seeing on the news that the AI is not coming for those that build houses. AI is not coming for those that are digging wells in the oil rig or flying to space. AI is not coming for those that are painters, that are woodworkers, fabric designers. It's coming for the graphics designer. You can put in 5 lines of prompt and it spits out a flyer. Done.
Mm.
Why do you have to go pay a graphic? So, but for a graphics designer now, you have to go learn how to write those same prompts so that they can still pay you to write the prompt,
True.
as opposed to somebody else doing that prompting for you. I hear prompt engineers now becoming a thing. So just being able to lead with AI. I started using AI in my business for audiovisual. I know I wish we had a time to do like some share screen, but I can send you some pictures
Yeah.
I've designed with AI just by writing prompts.
Well.
It enhances your work, it speeds up the work that you're doing, it gets you the job faster. Back in the day where you had to go think and Google and stuff. Now with the right prompts, I think it goes back to if you know the foundation of your kind of work, you wouldn't be left out in
True.
this AI revolution. It's happening really fast, which is why a lot of people seem that they are confused. But the base rationale to have is whatever technology that is coming. Same as the smartphone. We never used to have phones that had touch screen. Now everybody, so you see, adopting the technology is the first step. Using it, well, now everybody's creating, TikTok and Instagram reels. That never used to be a thing 10 years ago.
True.
So imagine what we as the project managers, as the software engineers, or whatever AI is called, now GPT, all the GPTs out there that are text-based, even the visual ones that are able to create stunning, almost realistic images. If you're able to adopt using that in your industry, just imagine the explosion of value that you're able to give. Like I said, I spend a lot of my time talking on the phone, like we're doing now, speaking to customers one-on-one like this. So imagine if I have a way to cut down the time I spend speaking to customers, it would be amazing. So whatever it is that is a repeatable process, why do it when I could get an AI to get it done? So if I imagine I had to train a customer on a platform that we're just building, and it's the same platform. Yes, there are certain things that will be unique to different customers, but the parts that are common, and we're just same as the way you build out a training video. You tell an AI to record your video, give it to the AI, and tell the AI to polish it, put it together, send it out to all your customers. That is leading with the AI. And then you tell your customers, thank you for watching this video. When you're done, if you have unique questions that you want us to hop on a one-on-one for, book a 15-minute session with me, as opposed to you doing the 1 hour training and then still spending half an hour again answering questions. Now you can do four of those in 1 hour. Because hey, you can now book 15 minutes with all your customers and just give them the specific areas that are unique to them. The AI has taken care of the heavy load on teaching. So it's going to really influence the work that we do. Like my gospel for AI is learn to lead with it. If you learn to lead with it, you're going to be one, in some way securing your job, improving your skill set for the next revolution that is going to come. We don't know what that is yet, but it's coming. And I think it's the AI revolution. Is going to.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Obiora. And I feel at different points in time, we need to also take advantage of all these AI tools that are out there rather than just wait till it takes over your role, right? All right, guys, thank you so much for taking our time to watch this video. Catch you in the next one. Thank you.